Right, recording started. How we going? We've just done the live, and all of a sudden, we've just worked out that we had some questions. I had it on the wrong stream, so yeah, technology got me there. I had it on the private chat rather than the comments, so I missed it. But now we've got the questions. We're going to put them up just after the live. So hopefully, you guys who asked some questions, you can come back and see the four that I've answered. So let's get into it. Okay, which is the first question here? Look, I think Jaswell has cemented his spot out the top of the order. I don't think we'll see Gill back up there opening the throw at Sharma. I think Gill's got to take his opportunity at number 3. He's got to work on that weakness outside off stump. He's got to learn to leave the ball, like I said in the main video earlier. But Jaswell, he's got the goods to be a top opener in world cricket. I think the way that he played Anderson, where the ball's moving around here at Vizag, he had good temperament where he wasn't following the ball. If it just missed the outside edge, he just let it go. And I love the temperament where he just stayed calm. He forgot about it and just thought, right, I've just got to watch the next one. Make sure I cover that ball swinging in. If it swings away and it misses the outside edge, well, that's the way you play as an opener. I just think when he goes away with the Duke ball, it's going to move a lot more. He's got to watch the right handers really trying to attack that pads with the ball swinging in. But if he starts to get on top of right-handers where they're coming over the wicket and then they start coming around the wicket, he's got to learn to have a tactic to manipulate the ball moving off the deck, but also moving in there. He might even move and take guard on off stump and make sure he gets that front foot or that front pad outside off stump to those foolish deliveries over in English conditions with the ball moving around a bit. Because if you get hit outside off stump while playing a shot, you can't be given LBW. So they're the little things that he'll have to work on when he travels overseas. When he comes here to Australia, it's the extra bounce that he's going to have to work on. Can he duck? Can he weave? Can he play the pull shot appropriately with the quicker wickets as well? So those are the things that he'll have to add to the game as well. But in Indian conditions, he is unbelievable. Against pace, he's awesome, but against spin, he is dynamite. Not quite as good as Verinder Sehwag, but what I've seen, he's very hard to bowl to because he doesn't just hit with the spin, he hits against the spin. And if you're trying to turn the ball into him and he's taking you over cover, that means he's dominating you and he's reading you. Jaswell, watch out for him. So that's a good question. I think Jaswell's got a long career, but he's got a lot of work ahead to him on foreign conditions. What's the next question there, AK? I would have picked Patadar. The reason being, I think that he's probably a better option against the quicker bowlers when you're taking the team overseas. Obviously, he can bat on Indian conditions, but it's trying to solidify someone to bat in that middle order, find someone who can graft, who can really take on that pace, can play that short stuff, but also really control the middle order. I think when you look at Sarfraz and what I've seen in the IPL, when he's facing that extra pace, there's a few little gremlins there. He's very unsure against that extra bounce, that ball coming around the chest region. He doesn't play it as well as Patadar, and that's probably why I would have gone that way. So Sarfraz Khan has got a lot of work to do on his game. He's making some big runs in first-class cricket, averaging 82, but it's not just about the numbers. Sometimes it's about the opposition that he's about to face as well. So you've got to look out that as well. And I think if he is facing Wood in this particular test match, I think he would struggle against the likes of Mark Wood, who can get that ball up to around 150. Good question there, young fella. Okay, another question, please, mate. Look, the way that Iyer is playing out the present moment, he's throwing those opportunities away. And if he doesn't make runs in the second innings, I think the selectors might look out, giving Khan an opportunity. Or if some of the more experienced players are going to come back into the test team in the next tests that are coming up, I think I will be the one to miss out. Just his approach to the game, he just seems to be a little lackluster. He doesn't seem to be switched on as much. He doesn't want it as much as what Gill does. So I just think looking from afar, I think he's he's just a bit unsure about where his game is at the moment. And I think he might be better suited to the white ball game rather than the long form game, just the way that he likes to attack and be aggressive. So that's something to watch with eye moving forward. I don't like what I'm seeing with the red ball game at the moment, but I can see that he's going to dominate in the white ball format because of his aggression, and you need that aggression down the lower order. Good comment. Another question, AK. Spin picks. I think England going into this second test match, I think they could have gone with Leach. I think he's got more experience. I think going in with three spinners that have got a lot of inexperience, I think you're really going to run into trouble, especially against a good, strong batting lineup of India, especially if you had to bowl first too, where the conditions are probably the best for batting. So I think they could have gone with Leach. Yes, Hartley got those wickets in the second innings, but still there wasn't that consistency there. There wasn't that ability to create that pressure. And I think Leach, with that experience, he's the one that when things aren't going right, you can give him the ball and he can tie up an end for a long period of time. I just think the young spinners that they've got there now, alongside Hartley, I just want to get make sure I get the names right. Bashir and Ahmed. Ahmed's not a bad leg spinner as well. I think you can afford to have the leg spinner on there, but you've got to have a fairly defensive field. He doesn't have that control like a Shane Warne, where he's in your face all the time, and it's very hard to score. With Ahmed, you know that you're going to get that loose ball. You're sitting on it. You're waiting for it. But he's got all those variations where the batsmen have to watch. So he looks as though he's going to be more of a wicket taker than the two off spinners, especially on day one of the match. And Bashir, and I don't know what you think about this, Gareth, but I just think he jumps out too much on the point of delivery. I think if someone can straighten him up a little bit so he doesn't jump out as much, then we can get a little bit more overspin on the ball and he might be able to get a little bit more control. He's got that asset of good height, but it's something that we want to be able to get more overspin so he gets a little bit more drift and drop and able to get that body moving towards the target rather than jumping out. So that's something that coaches could work with Bashir moving forward. But other than that, England have gone with too much inexperience in this first test match, and it's showing bowling on the first day in Vizag. Good question there, Gareth. Any other questions there, AK, that we missed today? Oh, look, I think when you've got such young talent there and you've rearranged your team and you're giving opportunities to other players that don't really get those opportunities when the full team's there, I think you've got to look at the player's strength. You've got to back the player with his skill. You don't want to be trying to do him get that player to do something that he's not used to, not accustomed to. So you're giving them that exposure out international cricket, and you're seeing what they've got, and then you go, right, these are the strengths. How can we improve those strengths to make that particular player a better cricketer? I'll go to a little example when I was playing for the Rajasthan Royals. We're having a team meeting and MS Dhoni's on strike. And the game plan is to bowl wide Yorkers to MS Dhoni. You're wanting to reach. You don't want to get it on off stump where he plays that helicopter shot and he gets under it. And generally he was powering the ball over the fence quite a lot there. And as we walked out, one of the bowlers was a little bit nervous about that particular plan because it wasn't his strength. He wasn't comfortable bowling wide Yorkers. He hadn't been practicing it. He'd only been a young player. So the coaches sat him down and said, right, well, how would you want to bowl to MS Dhoni? And he replied, well, my Yorker is basically at off stump, leg stump. I'll be trying to aim for his toes. That's where I want to go. That's my strength. I feel as though I can execute that. And all of a sudden the coaches are sitting there, right, we've got a bit of a problem here. So well done on the coaches. It was Paddy Upton, who's was a psychologist, did play first class cricket, had that experience, but with the psychology side of things as well, was able to sit back and go, right, okay, things aren't right here. I've got to put my player in the best frame of mind to give him the best chance of executing out the middle. And basically what we had to do was let him attack MS Dhoni at MS Dhoni's strengths. And whoever came out on top, well, generally would win the game for their team. He bowled beautifully and kept MS Dhoni quiet in that particular over. Yes, he did get hit for 1-6 in that over, but MS Dhoni he put MS Dhoni under a lot of pressure, and that's one of the very few times where I've seen MS Dhoni not able to take control of a youngster in a game. It was a very good competitive over between the experience and the youngster backing his own game plan. So sometimes when you've got these young players coming in, you can give them all the plans that you want, but if you go away from what their strengths are and how they approach the game, you're making things worse, and you're putting them in a place where they're not going to play to the best of their ability. So try and keep it simple and back the young players' strengths. But it's a good question there, AK. Very good question. When it's when you're on the bowling front, but as well, you sit down there and you talk to the player, and you try and get the player to talk about his plans to the batsman. You don't, as a coach, tell the player what he should be doing. You're encouraging the player to think through how he wants to approach it. As he's thinking through it and he's watching it, he's analysing it, all of a sudden that's giving his body the memory of what to do out in the middle. So he's training his body what to do. Whereas if you're telling him as a coach what to do, he's not getting that. Or it's not sinking into the brain and going through the body as well as the player thinking about it. Thanks very much for joining me, guys, too. And just remember, when we're doing the lives, it's going to be put out there on Instagram and also Twitter when we're going to do it. We're going to shape it up. I haven't done these for about 6 months. I've been a little bit quiet. I've been doing a few other things, but I've been missing this. So that's why I'm back. But we're going to get some of you fans to come on and sit side by side with me on the screen, and we're going to have a little bit of a chat as well. You can ask me questions, and I'm going to ask you questions as well, and we'll get that little discussion going live on YouTube. Thanks very much for joining me, guys. We'll see you next week for another Lives Hog Out. And remember, Hog Out is meant to be hang out, but we just put a little bit of a hog into it. Thanks, guys.